Hey CMC students, what's up? I hope you guys are doing good. I'm encouraged to be with you today and excited to share with you this word from Isaiah chapter 30, verse 18. I'm going to go ahead and read it. It says, "Therefore, the Lord waits to be gracious to you, and therefore he exalts himself to show mercy to you. For the Lord is a God of justice. Blessed are all those who wait for him." I've been so encouraged this week just thinking about the good news that's packed in this verse. Just this idea that God is waiting to show me grace and mercy. He's waiting to show you grace and mercy. This is the way that God relates to us. I want us to press this down into our hearts this week. That when God looks at you and when God looks at me, he is looking at us through the lens of grace and mercy, and he is eagerly awaiting an opportunity to bless you. Grace just means God giving us what we don't deserve, a blessing that we don't deserve. And mercy is similar. It just means that God doesn't want to give us what we do deserve. If God chose to relate to us on anything other than grace and mercy, then we would constantly be getting punished. But God, once for all, through Jesus, dealt with sin, dealt with our depravity, and now the only way that he knows how to relate to us is through grace and mercy. That is such good news. This means that when God's waiting to show grace, he's not waiting for us to get our act together. He's not waiting for you to be more obedient during this season. If you're going through something tough, that's not God's judgment on you, saying, hey, you better get your act together, or I'm going to let this last forever. But it says that God is eagerly awaiting. He's always just eagerly awaiting an opportunity where he can show you grace and give you good things that you don't deserve. And so this means that he's not waiting on us to do better. He's not waiting on us to be more obedient. He's not waiting on us to read our Bible more or share the gospel with more people. He's just waiting to give us what we don't deserve. And that's good news, because I find myself in a season where I feel like I don't deserve many good things, but God is waiting for an opportunity to give me those things, because that's who he is. It says, for the Lord is a God of justice. A God of justice, that means that he does what is right all the time, whether it feels like it or not. It's true that God is good and he always does what is good. And then the last part of it says, blessed are all those who wait for him. So if I believe that this is who God is towards me all the time, that can carry me through some pretty tough seasons. Maybe like a season that we're walking through right now, where it feels like we're waiting on God to act. It's like, where are you at? What are you doing? But it says, blessed are all those who wait for him. Those who wait for him are those who trust that he is good, that he has mine and your best interests at heart, that he is longing for an opportunity, and it's going to be at exactly the right time, because that's how God works, because he is just. Let me just read with you just the next verse, as I've been thinking about, okay, well, what is God waiting on? And I don't know that there's a definitive answer, but this could be one potential thing. In verse 19, it says, for a people shall dwell in Zion, in Jerusalem. You shall weep no more. He will surely be gracious to you at the sound of your cry. As soon as he hears it, he answers you. And so I think that God is just waiting for his people, for us individually and corporately, to cry out to him. That's all he's waiting on. Like a good father, he just waits for us to turn and cry and say, Dad, we need your help. And then he delights to run to his children, to that situation, and say, hey, here's what I want to give to you. I want to bless you. And sometimes I think God waits for me to get all my solutions out of the way, for me to stop trying to figure out how to fix myself and how to make my life better and how to fix my circumstances, and get to a point where I'm broken and I understand, man, I need you, God. Where I humble myself and cry out, God, I can't do this on my own. I need you. And he is eagerly awaiting for that opportunity. He's eagerly awaiting for you to humble yourself and to talk to him that way. To say, hey, God, this thing in my life, this trial that I'm walking through, it's too big for me. I can't handle it. He's not wanting you to be so strong and independent on your own so that you can grow up and never need him. He's wanting you and me through this season, I believe, to learn how to be dependent upon him. And that's not a lesson that we like. I don't like that lesson at all. But I'm telling you that his word promises that he is eager to hear from us, to hear us cry out to him and say, hey, God, I need you. I'm crying out to you. I'm in a season of affliction. It says in verse 26, the Lord binds up the brokenness of his people and heals the wounds inflicted by his blow. So he allows some tough things, and he's allowed a tough season in the life of our church and in our own individual lives right now. But he binds up the brokenness of his people, and all we have to do is cry out to him. And it says, blessed are all those who wait for him. I was so encouraged this week. This point has just been highlighted and underlined by BB and his faith, walking through the season that he's been walking through with his family and with his wife. And in our staff meeting this morning, I was so encouraged by his faith. His message to the staff of our church as he's walking through this season was, I just want to trust God. I've been continually having to remind myself who he is during this tough time, and I want to trust him, that he's good. And so I want to encourage you to lean into that. I want to have that same type of faith where I'm not trying to figure everything out on my own, but I am crying out to God, bringing him my struggles, my frustrations, maybe during this season. And in Isaiah 30:21, a couple verses later, it says, your ears will hear a word behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. And I believe that when we cry out to God, that's when we're going to hear his voice. That's when we're going to hear him speak. And so I encourage you to do that today. I encourage you to remember who God is. He's a God of justice, that he is good. Everything he does is good and right, whether it feels like it or not. And he is bent on blessing you. He is eagerly awaiting an opportunity to answer your cry to him and give you grace and mercy. May you go in his grace and his mercy and his peace. I'm praying for you guys. I love you, and I can't wait to see you in person.